So you're thinking about moving to South Berwick, Maine. South Berwick is an awesome little town that offers that perfect mix of coastal and inland living. The town has roughly 7,000 residents, so it's obviously a little bit quieter, a little bit less populated than some of the neighboring coastal areas. It's located right on the border of New Hampshire, so it's in a super convenient location. It's an awesome little town, but is it the right town for you? So I'm going to take you through some of the pros and some of the cons of South Berwick so you can figure out if this is the right place for your next move or investment. By the way, my name's Margaret, and if you want to know everything there is about living in South Berwick, make sure to subscribe below so you can be the first to know about the current market in Southern Maine. If you have any questions at all, feel free to give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or set up a Zoom call. All that information's in the description below. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is the location of South Berwick. The town happens to border New Hampshire, and it's also super close to Ogunquit, York, and Kittery, which are all awesome hubs in Southern Maine. One of the great things about South Berwick is that you're going to get a lot more land than if you're going to buy somewhere like, say, maybe Ogunquit. If you buy in Ogunquit, you're probably going to get maybe a half acre of land with your home, whereas if you're looking somewhere like South Berwick, you're probably going to be able to get a couple of acres for around the same price. This is a huge draw for people that want more land. They can't really get that super close to the coastline, so they buy homes in towns like South Berwick where they can get so much more for the same price. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is the school system in South Berwick. But first, I want to just briefly describe to you kind of how the school system works in Maine. So if you live in a town such as South Berwick, you have to go to the public high school, with the exception of private schools. You have to go to the South Berwick Public High School. Same thing for towns like Wells. If you live in Wells, you have to go to Wells High School. Now, there are some exceptions to this, but for the most part, to keep things simple, you can't just go to Sanford High School if you live in, say, York, Maine. So like I said before, there are the two school systems, Marshwood Elementary, Middle, and High School, which is an awesome school system, but it's also awesome that they have a town such as Berwick Academy, which is an awesome private school. And being that South Berwick is probably only an hour, definitely less than an hour and a half from Boston, it pulls a lot of people up from even Massachusetts and New Hampshire into the town. So what's great about South Berwick is there's more of an option. Now, anybody from anywhere could enroll in Berwick Academy, but there is something to be said about the convenience of just having another school in your town. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is the waterfront homes in South Berwick. A lot of people think that because we're not directly on the coast, there isn't a lot of waterfront homes other than those on maybe lakes and ponds. South Berwick doesn't have a whole lot of that though, but they do have the Salmon Falls River, which leads into the Piscataqua, which leads into the Atlantic. The homes on the Salmon Falls River are absolutely beautiful, and just on the other side of that river is Rollingsford, New Hampshire. So like I said, South Berwick is in an awesome location, super close to the border, which is definitely a perk of living in the area. The next thing I want to talk about is the activities in South Berwick. The Links to Outlook golf course is a huge attraction to the area. There are definitely plenty of other golf courses in Southern Maine, but this is easily one of the more extravagant ones. I always see their parking lot full and people playing golf there. I also want to point out the fact that South Berwick has a strawberry festival each year. It happens on the last Saturday in June each year, which is going to be the 24th of June this year, and it's going to be their 45th annual festival. On that same day, there's also a strawberry run, which is a 5-mile run, or I think it's a 2-mile walk that goes alongside the festival. South Berwick also hosts free concerts on Wednesday nights in the summer on the lawn of the Central School. This alone pulls in so many people from neighboring towns because it's an awesome free event that showcases local artists in the community. I also want to mention Powder House Hill, which is this tiny little ski, I don't even want to say it's a mountain, but like a ski hill in South Berwick. While this obviously isn't a very big ski mountain, I can pretty much guarantee most people you ask in Southern Maine are going to say that they went there as a kid or maybe even recently because it's just a ton of fun. And the last activity I want to mention in South Berwick is the farmers market. Now, we've obviously made some videos on farmers markets in the past. South Berwick's is actually a part of what they call the Tri-Town Farmers Market, which consists of Wells, North Berwick, and South Berwick. All three of these towns have their own separate farmers markets in the summertime, but what's unique about South Berwick is that they are the only one in the area that hosts a winter farmers market. I know a lot of local residents just love this because in Southern Maine, a lot of the local shops and vendors shut down in the winter because there just isn't as many people here because we have such a strong tourist season in the summertime. So having a farmer's market in the winter is awesome. All right, so now I want to talk about a few of the disadvantages of living in South Berwick. The first one being the fact that there is no stoplights at all in the entire town. Now, there is a perfectly reasonable explanation for this. It is because if they put in stoplights, they would have to widen the roads in the downtown area. If they were to widen the roads, they would have to take out all of the public parking in the downtown area, meaning that none of the small businesses would have any parking anywhere near them, and it would be detrimental to all of the small shops in downtown. So while the town is doing this for a good reason, it's definitely a disadvantage of living in the town. I know traffic can get pretty backed up in the downtown area right around dinner time, pretty much every day, even in the winter sometimes. There is also virtually no nightlife in South Berwick, and while this isn't really a big deal to a lot of people, for young people it definitely is. There's only a couple of restaurants and bars in the entire town. So for the most part, if you want to go out anywhere, you're going to have to drive to either Ogunquit, Kittery, York, maybe even into New Hampshire to do that. And the last thing I want to talk about is the fact that there is no large chain commercial grocery stores at all in South Berwick, and that goes for a lot of big commercial stores as well. It's a very small town, it's primarily residential, and while there's definitely a lot of advantages to living there, like I mentioned, it's definitely a disadvantage that you're likely going to have to drive 25 minutes just to get your groceries for the week. On the bright side, there are plenty of neighboring towns that have an abundance of these stores, so it's really not that big of a deal that you won't have them in your town, but it's definitely something to think about. So that's our overview of South Berwick, Maine. I hope you found this video helpful, and again, my name's Margaret, and if you have any questions at all, feel free to give us a call, shoot us a text, send an email, or schedule a Zoom call. All that information's in the description below. See you next time.